There's no subject more interesting or diverse than step-parenting and also step families being blended during the holidays. We wanted to talk about that subject because in today's world, so many people are step-parents, so many children are step-children. And so there's always an underlying current of where you fit, where you don't fit, who's getting more, who's getting less, how do we get along? I'm a step-parent. Judy Gammon is a step-parent. And Dr. Cood, you are a counselor who helps us work out the glitches in that association.
That's right, and you even mentioned the word, Susie, blended, which there's a lot of controversy about that because blending really implies that we're going to create something that is much like the original family. And I think that sets some pretty high expectations, and really too high expectations of what is really happening in the blending or the step family.
Well, it did happen in our case because the children's mom was so fantastic and so loving that she even shared Christmas. We shared Christmas together and holidays together, which I know is way unusual.
Well, that is unusual, but that's good. That really speaks to the fact that there was good communication, there was a good set of boundaries going on in the relationship, that really both spouses really did do a good job of leaving and divorcing fully, because divorcing, as you know, is a process, and you really need to divorce completely and fully before you're able to blend or come together in the new marriage.
And when you can get to the point in the divorce where you can actually be thankful for the love you shared, the love you had, and then accept in a forgiving way what has happened.
I like the word reconciliation. We usually use that in terms of, you know, marriages getting back together, but that's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is reconciling at a point of, the basic point of civility.
Yes, kindness.
Reconciling at the basic point of working together as co-parents, and that's a really important, and obviously you've experienced a lot of flexibility, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of being able to move on, which is really the goal in all of this. And looking at the kids too is important in terms of their own developmental age.
Well, because children, in the case when there is the divorce, if the child is drawn to the step-parent, they feel guilty that they're being disloyal to their mom or to their dad. That is a natural feeling.
Sure.
And when the new spouse comes in, I just don't think you ought to have any expectations.
Well, keep them low, that's for sure.
Really?
You know, one of the things that does happen with younger children, they are still in the inclusion stage. They want family.
They do.
And so they're going to adjust much better than older children.
What would tell me about, because you're a step-parent.
I am, and you know, some people say they marry men with baggage. I say I married Mr. Samsonite himself because he came with 7 children.
Oh.
And then I had 2, and then we had 1 together. So together there's 10. And it's really interesting, the dynamics, because on one side, we did have that cooperation. We'd go to parent-teacher conferences, and I'd ask them to set out 4 chairs, and I think that made the teacher a little nervous because she had not seen that before. But then on the other side, we didn't have that kind of camaraderie, and it did make it difficult. Actually, Dr. Koo was very inspirational to all our children and to us on how to not just overcome some of that, but like he said, reset the expectations.
And so how do we do that, Dr. Cood?
Well, I think we have to look at the age of the child. The younger children, elementary, and even younger than that, they're going to blend pretty well. As they get into 10, 11, and 12, you're going to have a little bit more problem with them because they have already had their family. They're going to not blend quite as much. In fact, the research tells us it takes from 5 to 7 years for a blending process to occur. So what that means is if these kids are 11, 12, 13, they're really not going to blend. So that's the expectation part you talk about, Susie, where what happens is really we have the husband and the wife, the new family coming together in this direction. Coming together is trying to blend, becoming one. And what you have developmentally is the appropriate developmental movement away from the family. So you get these two diametrically opposing forces.
Okay,
and
you
get a
mean
lot
the
of
children are
explosions.
moving away from
Sure,
them?
they're moving in junior high. They begin to really go more toward their peer group, moving away from their own family. Even in an intact family, they would be doing that. And that's a normal process that occurs. So put those diametrically opposing forces together. What do you get? A lot of explosion, a lot of chaos, the need for really redefining the expectations of how are we going to do this. And if they're 14, 15, 16, they're really not going to blend at all. You just need to keep them at a distance.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want you to talk about how the new parent or the new step-parent, tips for them to just be patient or something and let the drama play out. Will you stay a minute and we can talk about that? We'll be back right after this. Don't know what we're doing next, but it'll be something. But later on, we'll be back with Dr.